Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Friday, May 31st, 2024. I'm Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, the Senior Minister here at Sunshine Cathedral.
I am Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin, the Executive Minister. Faith and religion can be complicated for the LGBTQ plus community. Surveys show that evangelical faith is the justification for the greatest attacks on the LGBTQ plus community.
I am Reverend Kevin Tisdall, the Minister of Education. The Queer God Squad is going to explore our religious community. Let's explore the big news of the day and what it means to you. This is live, and then we are available on demand. We are available on all smart televisions and your favorite social media.
Surveys show that religious faith and church are the main causes of trauma in the LGBTQ plus community. At Sunshine Cathedral, we're here to tell you that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Reddit's LGBTQ plus community confronts the concept of eternal hell in modern Christianity. In a recent subreddit OpenChristian forum, a thought-provoking post questioned how believers in eternal conscious torment, ECT, could view the Bible as beautiful. The original poster expressed confusion over reconciling the idea of a loving God with the concept of eternal hell. The post said, if ECT, eternal conscious torment, is true, God's an absolute monster, and the Bible's a horror novel. The author, who has since rejected the notion of hell, posed several questions about how those who believe in ECT continue to worship God. The post speculated on various reasons why believers might accept ECT: indifference to others' fates, a lack of deep contemplation on the subject, or fear of questioning divine authority. Other possibilities included a desire for vengeance or even being brainwashed. The post concluded with a stark assertion: I think most people who say they believe in hell actually don't believe it at all. The discussion ignited a broader debate among the subreddit OpenChristian members, highlighting the complexity of reconciling personal beliefs with traditional doctrines. At Queer God Squad, we view the Bible as a source of inspiration and liberation, not a tool for fear and condemnation. We advocate for a theology rooted in love, inclusion, and justice, where all are valued and welcomed. I don't believe in hell. I mean, please. It doesn't make any sense to me. The Bible doesn't say that anyone is in hell. Now, who cares what the Bible says? I mean, the Bible is not univocal. So if it did say something, it's just that writer saying something. But strangely, none of the writers that we have, there are writings that didn't make it into the canon, but none of the writings say that anyone is in hell. There's a fictional story, a parable of the rich man Dives. Dives is just the Latin word for rich man. Most versions don't even give him the name. But there's a rich man who is experiencing a hellish reality, and it's for being cruel, it's for being unkind, it's for being ungenerous, it's for not caring about this poor slob, Lazarus, who was sick and poor and homeless, and he just overlooked him. So he didn't care about the suffering, and so his karma is to then suffer. That's the story, and it's a parable. So the only person named as being in sort of a Hades situation is not a real person. It's not a real. It's not an account of something that happened, right? And so other than that, no one is named. No one is said to actually be in such a place. So it's clearly a metaphor. There are 4 words that are translated hell, and so it's Hades and Sheol and Tartarus and Gehenna. And so whenever you see hell, it's really one of those 4 words. Hel, hell, was the goddess of the underworld in Norse mythology. Hades was the god of the underworld in Greek mythology, and then the place that he ruled over started being known as Hades. Sheol is almost the same as Hades, really. It's just where the dead are. It's a place where the shadows dwell, and there's not really much to it, good or bad. Gehenna was a real physical place, and so it's a place where there had been a lot of death and killing, so it was a bad place. It eventually became a garbage dump, so it was a smelly place. So this is where people died, and it's now where people throw their garbage. So it's a metaphor for torment, for being discarded, for cruelty and violence. And so all of these things are what get one word in King James, hell. And they're not the same thing. And the hell is clearly metaphorical, and nobody knows what happens after you die anyway, and. So I think the person who says, if God is good, hell's just really not an option. Now, we can have hellish experiences. We can put each other through hell. We can put ourselves through hell. I think it was Winston Churchill who said, though, if you find yourself going through hell, keep going. Don't stop, keep going. And so I think we just look foolish in the 21st century saying, you're going to go to hell if you don't agree with me, and because God said, and if you still don't believe me, well, you'll see, you'll wake up. It sounds so ridiculous. Why are we threatening people into trying to change their opinions, threatening them with a threat we can't back up? We can't prove that there's any hell or heaven, or that we're right, or that our opinion is the only one that matters. We can't prove any of that, but we're trying to scare you into compliance. We look silly. We look like ridiculous, dummy bullies, and we need to cut it out. God, for me, is the search for God, the search for meaning, and on that search, you're going to have a lot of ideas and a lot of experiences. And hopefully what you end up with is something way too good to be weaponized and used to punish people because they had a different opinion than you did, or they called God different names than you called God, or because a hairy chest gave them a chubby instead of bouncy boobs. It's just so silly that we try to enforce prejudices and opinions with the threat of hell and the name of God, and we don't have any control over any of that. And so we just need to quit that. We just need to quit that. Eternal conscious torment doesn't make sense. It does not flatter any sort of God. It doesn't make us look good. And it's the 21st century. We're educated people. We need to get past that. God is still an open question, but I'm just going to say absolutely no on the hell business.
In this perspective, the Bible is described as a horror novel. And it's like, I was thinking about when I was reading, it's like, that is so true on so many levels, because it's like that hell is one of the horror stories from the novel. Let me tell you about this place that I don't know if it exists, it doesn't exist, but I believe I can put you there because you don't believe where I did. It's like, get over yourselves. We have no hell to put anybody in, no heaven to put. It's like, let's just be about focusing on living our good lives as best as we can and stop worrying about trying to put people in another box. I was just on the Zoom on Sunday, I was talking about that. We was talking about a scripture or something or other. And I just finally see, everybody's trying to say who is in and who is out. Let's stop that, because it's all ours for the claim. It's all ours for the affirming. And so this whole notion around hell, is there hell? Isn't there hell? I don't know. I don't even care. I don't believe in hell. I'll just be honest. I do not believe in hell. We can have horrible experiences that may seem like hell, but even that now is a far-fetched for me to say, because I don't know what hell would feel like if there is a hell. But I know about life experiences. And I do know that in life experiences, if there is such a place of going through it, then there's hope that we get through on the other side.
Yeah.
If you wind up in a conscious reality beyond this one, and you see people of every race and ethnicity and nationality, and they're just living in harmony, and everyone getting along, everyone loving one another, for a lot of people, that would be heaven. And for the bigot, that is hell. Same place, same experience. The same thing, if you get there and you see a man and a woman, and a man with 3 women, and a woman with 3 men, and 2 women together, and 2 men, and a man and 4 men together. If you just have every combination of love and devotion and commitment, for a lot of people that would be heaven, and for the homophobe, that would be hell. So I don't know that there's not going to be a hell for people, but I know there's not a special punishment place, hell. Just like now. If it rains on you, do you play in the rain, or do you curse the rain and try to, run in and out of it? The rain's the rain. For some people, it's a chance to jump in mud puddles. For other people, it's time to get in and, get warm and get out of the rain. So I don't know what's next, but I know we will probably decide if we like it or not once we're experiencing it. But it's not a punishment. The rain isn't punishment. I just either like it or I don't. There's no punishing place. And if you're a good person, why would you be motivated by fear? You know what I mean? Like, it's not terribly noble. Like, I believe what I believe so that I don't go to hell. Well, that's just covering your ass. Is CYA that noble? You know what I mean? So why can't I just do what's right? Whatever I think is right. And maybe what I think is right is asking hard questions and admitting I don't have the answers. But why can't I just live honestly, authentically, truthfully, try to be courageous, try to be generous, try to be kind, and not even give a consideration of if there's a reward or punishment for any of that. That the reward and punishment piece keeps any of our things from being authentic because we're just trying to stay out of trouble. And that's not us being what we are. Mm-hmm. That's us trying to keep the mafia boys from roughing us up because we didn't come up with enough money on time.
This story reminds me of what we often at this table talk about. And we talk about scholarship, we talk about learning. And it brought me back to Bible class in my Northern African American Baptist church. We would have Bible school before Sunday service, and the teachers always dealt with the so-called New Testament. We didn't talk a lot about the Old Testament. But when I started reading it, I started asking questions about this horrible story. And it took until I made it into seminary where I was reminded that the stories are just that. They are stories written by human beings, men. At the time that they were writing it, they were writing about their experiences. They were writing about what they understood the world to be. If you don't know, then this whole thunder and lightning and famine and locusts and all of that must be sent from a higher being. Other than learning that, famine happens, learning that lightning and thunder are clouds banging against each other, that rain comes from the clouds, not from inside of some dome, that we learned late in history how babies were actually created. So the more we learn, the more we understand, the better off we are. So when we take all of those Bible stories, those fables, those myths, those things that people wrote to influence. And that's the other thing that we sometimes forget. Each of the stories was written to influence a particular group of people for a specific reason. Once we begin to understand that and we put it all together, it is a beautiful mosaic. It is a wonderful story, and it's not the final message. Mm-hmm. I think that the final message that we at Sunshine Cathedral give is that we are created in God's image. We are God's miracle, not God's mistake. And while it may sound catchy, it is absolutely true. If we're created in God's image, how can we be wrong? Right. So stop worrying about what the writers from 2,000 plus years ago wrote and start looking at your life and decide how you individually can be of help to someone today, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I made a very conscious decision hundreds of years ago that I would not be tormented by dead strangers.
I like that.
Long dead strangers. I don't know anything about them. Come to find out, some of them probably didn't exist. I don't think there was a real Moses. There are some scholars who are now doubting a real David and Solomon. I got to chew on that a little bit. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, but I got to think about it. So yeah, and if they were real, they hadn't been around a minute, and I don't know much, and all you know about them is legendary. And some things I don't know anything about Amos. Some crazy guy came down from his farm, said some things, and went back. Don't know anything about Jonah. He just shows up. Supposed to be going somewhere and he don't want to go. Once been a fish, because that happens. So there are these people saying things we don't know anything about. If they ever existed, they've been dead for millennia. They don't get to tell me what to do. I'm not scared of them. I'm just not living my life like that. I'm just not. We are either motivated by love or fear.
Yeah.
And that's it. If you hate someone, it's because you're afraid they can hurt you, or you're afraid that they're trying to steal something from you. Any emotion that isn't love is really fear. It's some manifestation of fear. And so the best understanding I have of the divine is love. And so anything that isn't love has to be fear. And And of the two, I think only love is real, because most of the things you're afraid of, you can handle. You don't need to be afraid of it. So yeah, it's still love, 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 love. So focus on love, and I just don't think you go very wrong. And I'm certainly not going to focus on love by being afraid of hell.
Not happening.
Not having it. Well, that's today with the Queer God Squad. We want to thank you for joining us. We're here daily at 3 to have some fun and discuss what our LGBTQ plus community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's largest progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together, and we are all in this together. Remember that.
You are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until the next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.